Joining us now, one of our favorite people here on the BYU campus, Jaylen Reyes, because he brings such a relaxed style to Studio B. And you know what? We were just talking about gushers or fruit roll-ups, Jaylen. What's better? Gushers?
Gushers.
Gushers?
Okay.
I don't quite have the cavities yet, that's why.
See, that's exactly what it is.
But
man.
in a couple years from now, I might change my mind.
If you get the cavities like Brian.
Oh, yeah.
Just don't sprinkle pixie dust all over gushers wrapped in fruit roll-ups.
Hey, did you ever do anything? You ever just be creative and take gushers and maybe wrap it up in a fruit roll-up or mix in other candy with any other, I don't know.
I used to stick Skittles in my fruit roll-up.
See, there you go, man.
I'm a Skittles guy.
See,
I'm like
Skittles
Marshawn
in a
Lynch. I'm a
fruit
Skittles
roll-up.
guy.
I did the same thing, dude. See, so Spencer's the weird one, right?
I'm not weird. I like to enjoy
bro,
them.
it's 2-on-1, bro.
I like to enjoy them as separate entities.
It's 2-on-1 though. Like you were looking like fascinated, and it's normal to me. It's obviously normal to Jaylen. So you're the odd man out. You should try it. It'll change your life.
Skittles in fruit roll-ups or gushers in a fruit roll-up?
Either or. I said earlier, Jaylen, that I used to put Skittles in Starburst, in like a Starburst.
I'd be down with that.
Yeah.
Starburst and Skittles are probably my two favorite candies.
Yeah. Yeah, look. He's like, what is going on here?
What is going on? I don't know what's happening right now. Let's slowly turn the page now to something else that Jaylen is an expert on, not Starburst and Skittles, but BYU men's volleyball. And it feels like it's been a long time since that championship match against Penn State. Even though it's only been a couple of months, maybe it's just like it's felt long because we're in the middle of the summer. But what have the last few months been like for you, knowing that you were this close to wrapping up a national championship?
I think maybe like the week, 2 weeks after, it was frustrating or disheartening just because we were so close. But then you kind of, step away for a little bit and you don't see the boys for a little while. And, as coaches, we talk about, how ways we can get better in terms of trying to get back there next year. And, we think we have a good group coming back in terms of, players that have experience now playing in the Final Four in the national championship game, coming back to our roster. And so do the other three teams that were in the Final Four with us. So, just kind of traveling around the country recruiting, everyone's saying congratulations, but, you guys were so close, hearing that probably 3 or 4 times each and every day I go to a club or a high school tournament. So it's definitely in the mind back there. And of course, running into always the Ohio State coaches makes you kind of, it's a little bit of a reminder each and every time. So
do you wish that, or let me take a step back, because I always thought of this being a player or even a coach, being a part of an organization. I would almost rather not make it to the championship game knowing that I'm going to lose it and just kind of be on the cusp, right? Would you, what do you experience or what would you say, based off of your experience?
So I lost 2 of these. I lost one as a coach and then I lost one as a player when I was a sophomore. So the first couple of days after, it hurt so bad you wish you weren't playing, And then, you have the quote-unquote experts telling you, you should have done this, you should have done that. And in the back of my mind, maybe a month or 2 after, I'm thinking, well, yeah, I mean, of course, everyone's such an expert when you lose. But when you win, no one has anything to say. So I think it's one of those, a couple of days after, you kind of wish maybe you weren't there because it hurt so much. But at the end of the day, it's, that's kind of why you play or why you coach, to get to that game. So I'd rather get there than not get there. But the pain of losing that game is worse than losing, one of the 4 or 5 other games we lost this season. So for sure.
Jaylen Reyes, a BYU men's volleyball assistant coach with us on BYU Sports Nation. You mentioned the word good to describe what you bring back in this team, and I think that might be a severe understatement. You basically bring back everybody from the team that won the MPSF and is now hoping to win a national championship. So are we underselling? Are you doing that purposely?
No, I think we have a good, we have a above average team coming back, but
he's got to stay humble.
I'll say it. They're great. That's my opinion, though.
But for us, the goal is to win it all.
Right.
And so do the other 3 teams that were in the Final Four and some other teams that are going to be really, really good. And, we think that with, the guys training over the summer, getting stronger, we think we're going to be there again. now we just got to be able to get back, back to Columbus this year and be able to finish the deal. But, it starts, when school starts and, practicing every single day to, for the boys to get better and, trying to, sell to the boys that, hey, you can get better. And I know, they all believe that, but, in the kind of those long days in the fall, sometimes it's, easy for them to look forward to January and to, to May.
No question.
Versus, let's not skip October and November before we get there. So.
And that's a good approach as a coach. Some of my best coaches, after I would get an interception or have a great game, they would always point out, my faults, my flaws. And I'm like, what about, the 500 other plays that I did well? So that's a good approach there. But what about the pressure? Knowing that you guys have a great team coming back, how do you keep the guys focused on, not putting too much pressure on themselves and going out and performing the way that they can?
So for us this year, we talked about each and every match. Me, Luca, and Sean kind of said basically the same thing. Maybe we worded it a little differently, but each match is a process, And I remember in the Final Four against Long Beach, before the match, we're all saying, this is a process. And before the national championship game, Luca and Sean state that even tonight, it's a process. So there's not a build-up of this match is more important than this match, or this match is
like that.
More important than this match. It's a process. Monday morning practice is a process to get to where hopefully we came really, really close to getting last year. So, from day one to, hopefully it ends on May, whatever it is, 6th or 7th this year. Hopefully, it's an entire process.
You just changed my life, man. I'm over here like I had a aha moment, because I've struggled, I think, even outside of sports.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have your goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look down the road and you can definitely get distracted.
Mm-hmm.
But if you understand your process and live in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to get distracted, and it makes you focus. Oh, my gosh. Thank you, dude. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's go.
Have you watched the championship match, or is that a case where you're like, throw it in the garbage, we're just moving on?
No. And I never will.
And you never will.
I don't think I will. I heard so we were in nationals, a boys club tournament, big, like the club national championships in Dallas this week. And I guess like the second night I was there, I guess they played the game like on ESPN. They replayed the game on ESPN2 or ESPNU.
Ugh.
And everybody shows up to the convention center the next day at 8 a.m. like, oh, I watched the match. I'm like, what do you mean you watched the match? They're like, oh, ESPN played it last night. And I'm just like, okay, good thing I wasn't home and I wasn't watching TV. Because there's only like 4 or 5 channels I ever watch on TV. BYUtv is one of them, by the way.
Thank you, Jaylen. Thank you for the plug.
And yeah, everyone kind of asked me the same question. Will you ever watch it? Have you ever watched it? I'm like, probably not.
Burn the tape.
No,
Burn it.
Throw it in the garbage.
Yep. There's probably like, 3 or 4 games in your whole life that you will burn. You will never go back and watch.
Yeah.
That's probably one of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Usually it's always this like, if your season doesn't end the way you want, it's usually always that game.
Yep. And it's worse too when it's worse for you guys because of the championship, but anytime it's the last game and you don't go out strong, you're almost like itching and fiending to get back to something, right? Just to kind of make up for that.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Is that how the you guys feel and kind of just the vibe?
For sure. Like, since most of the time we're in the playoffs every year, and the playoffs ends basically when you lose.
Yep.
So, we just want a season where the last game we win, because if that means the last game we win, that means we finally accomplished the goal. So,
with the creation of the Big West Men's Volleyball Conference now, the MPSF expands by adding Grand Canyon and Concordia Irvine. How does that change the face of men's college volleyball?
I think initially it's a little, how do you say this? It's uneasy for a lot of us. Maybe I would probably put us in Stanford, because we're the team's not quite in LA, so it makes scheduling a little bit more difficult. We kind of liked initially we liked the MPSF the way it was, because we pretty much play all the best teams. You can throw in Ohio State, Loyola, Lewis, Penn State, not to leave anybody out, but for those teams, the rest of the better teams in the country were all in our conference. So we didn't really need to necessarily worry about scheduling, and because, our conference schedule, we pretty much play all the top 15 teams in the country anyway.
Right.
So for us now, it's, we have to be a little bit more creative with scheduling. So we'll still play Hawaii, we'll still play Long Beach, we'll still play UC Irvine. But now it's, versus the conference just mandating, okay, you guys will play each other on this date. Now we kind of have to have this, like, set up what they do in football, like home and away things with different teams. But for us, it's exciting for sure, the growth of the sport in terms of adding a conference. And it's big I think for the sport, because now you're adding a legitimate conference. The MPSF wasn't a big conference in any sport. The MIVA, the EIVA, Conference Carolinas were all quote unquote volleyball conferences. So now having the Big West, which is, supports other sports, we think that's, overall better for the entire game of volleyball.
Sure.
And, we're hoping that, the Big West can add a couple of teams too, because that would be really good. And, I think the end goal for all this is maybe to expand the NCAA tournament to 8 teams.
Ooh,
and I think if it
okay.
expands to 8, which you would need more teams now, it's not based on how many conferences you have.
Right.
The Big West, as of now, just took 6 teams and put them in a different conference. So they didn't add any teams. So, hopefully they can add some teams and we can get this thing up to 8. And, I think that would probably be the end goal for everybody. We think that would be the best. And it's kind of cool now, because now we have the flexibility now to play other teams. We think, you can look at it as, half full or half empty. Half empty means I got to go out and work to try and schedule all these other teams. But now it's, now we'll think we'll have a conference with 6 or 7 teams with us. And now it just allows us to travel a little bit more, be able to go down to LA and play different teams and, have more of a national schedule versus just we're kind of on the West Coast the entire year.
Jaylen, always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming back to Studio B. I know you've got some old teammates to harass, maybe Taylor Sander with Team USA.
Definitely.
It's
like he's got something important to do in August for some reason.
Just give him a hard time, man.
Will do.
Just give him a hard time. Jaylen, thanks for the time.
Thank you, guys.
Up next on